It's not officially a public holiday in New South Wales, but there wasn't a lot of work being done.
I don't have any hot tips, I'm afraid. Everybody's backing So You Think, so I think I'm going to go with a long shot and hope that it pulls through.
The Newcastle ladies proved you don't have to be trackside to wear a fascinator or a big hat.
Last year I picked the number 21 and it actually paid off. It was shocking.
Even more shocking, the glamorous Savannah von Spelling.
I had several days of watching DVDs of Hello Dolly and Gone with the Wind, and I just threw it all together and this is what I ended up with.
Fashions on the field moved indoors onto the catwalk, while this year shoes also took centre stage. In some cases, even the pretty fillies were no match for the form guide, while a winning prediction would prove the best gift for this birthday girl.
I've been given a tip for American. I'm not quite sure, but my granddad always wins and that's what he's given me, so that's what I'm going to back.
Our very own weatherman and his wife Tanya also had the inside running. The Newcastle Jets forgot about their own headlines, happy to put the pressure on the jockeys and trainers.
I'll go for Desperado. He's a Kiwi horse and done well last week. I don't know much about horses, but he done all right last week.
As we have the Grand National back home, and I know Melbourne Cup is huge over here, so it's a good chance to get together and, like you say, have a little flutter, you know.
We might have a little bit each way. I'm not on as much as some of the other boys, so definitely probably a 50 at least.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
The phones are already running hot. Tomorrow, the Jets will have plenty to keep their eye on as ticket sales take off for the LA Galaxy clash.
9 o'clock when the tickets go on sale, we're expecting calls from all over Australia.
Just where David Beckham and the boys will be staying and what they'll be doing is still up in the air.
We have a meeting on Thursday afternoon with about 35 different government and private agencies to coordinate the event, and after that meeting we should be in a position to start talking about.
But at the moment, all the fuss is over the damaged ground. After initial wet weather delays, workers were on a roll this afternoon.
We should see a result by about Saturday, and again the service would be playable pretty much straight after that.
Tomorrow, it's game on. Knights versus state government in arbitration. Both confident we'll get a solution as to who should manage this troubled ground. Nat Wallace, NBN News.
After a month inside this enclosure at the Hunter Wetland Centre, Shadow wasn't sure he wanted to leave. Back in September, the 2-year-old underwent a 90-minute operation to partially amputate deformed wings, which were prone to deadly infections. He's been recuperating ever since and was today given the all-clear to head home, although this swan's return was anything but elegant. But all was forgiven and forgotten once Shadow set eyes on mate Ziggy and their foster children, the centre's extremely rare freckled ducks.
We had a couple that come up and greeted him on his entrance to the water, so yeah, I think everything's gone perfect.
It's Shadow's special relationship with the ducks that ultimately saved his life. He's been a true father to them, even teaching them how to swim. And that was enough for the centre to justify his $2,000 vet bill.
He's beautiful. He's very happy that he's in his new enclosure now and being cooped up, and all his wings are held very good now.
More importantly, Shadow and Ziggy's future is now looking bright.
Well, any luck now with his wings being taken off? He's not so much the ugly duckling anymore. So she might have a little bit more interest in him now. So fingers crossed, we might have some little cygnets in the future.
Madeline Bond, NBN News.
It's a long way from 17 Cherry Tree Lane, London, but in a studio on the outskirts of Newcastle, sculptor Tanya Bartlett has been recreating the world's most loved nanny. She's starting with a miniature clay model after her design was selected to become a life-size statue in Bowral to honour Mary's creator.
Pamela Travers is the author who created Mary Poppins, and she was an Aussie.
PJ Travers lived in Bowral for a decade from 1907, where she developed the magical character.
It's sort of known now as the birthplace of Mary Poppins.
And the Southern Highlands town is where another of Tanya's statues already stands, that of Sir Donald Bradman.
It'll be nice to have two statues that can keep each other company.
Tanya's been working on the maquette for a couple of months, and it has all the important elements. And not forgetting...
Yep, the umbrella, the suit, the carpet bag. Well, for a lot of people, when they think of Mary Poppins, they think of her, taking off in that, the east wind blows and off she goes.
It's Tanya's first female statue after dozens of commissioned works, including Les Darcy and the Whaler Memorial, and it couldn't be a better fit.
I'm such a Mary Poppins fan, I couldn't help it.
A limited edition of 17 miniature bronze Marys will be sold off to raise funds for the life-size version for Bowral, which Tanya hopes to begin early next year. And she hopes, like the character, the bronze statue will be supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And, of course, Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
Muswellbrook Cup Day started early for some punters.
We've got the race in Melbourne that stops Melbourne. We've got the race that stops Muswellbrook.
Are you having a good day?
Having a great day.
There was plenty of extreme fashion statements, as well as the more traditional. And while there was plenty of action off the field, on the Muswellbrook track there was just as much. 8 races were held across the day with a total prize pool of $133,000.
We have changed our distance from our normal cup distance, which was 1750, back to 1280 metres this year as a new experiment. It has worked.
The first race began shortly after 1, but it was the $40,000 Gold Cup that gave many itchy fingers. He did, and paid $2.50 for the win and $1.40 for the place. The Quinella was just under $12 and the trifecta $68.70. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
Last year's New York Marathon was decided by millimetres. Kurt Fearnley claimed his fourth straight crown, the toughest of his career. Despite the success, his desire to win it again is stronger than ever. The 29-year-old set himself the goal of winning 6 marathons in the Big Apple after his first attempt.
You know, if I can knock this one over and get 5 straight and then only have one more to finish the to-do list in New York, you know, that's pretty good. But, you know, the race is hands down one of my favourites, and I'll be here for the next 10, 15 years trying to get the 6.
The multiple Paralympic champion recently returned from India with a gold medal in the 1500-metre race, his first ever win at the Commonwealth Games.
To race in an event that is equal medal status with your able-bodied fellow athletes, it was a really nice change, and it was worth the trip.
Preparing for that event was vastly different to training for the 42-kilometre marathon. Kurt admits he has several game plans in mind for New York.
There's a few question marks going into this one, and I'm not sure how they will work out. I'm fresh, I'm fast, I'm strong. The last 10 to 15 kilometres, I'm not sure.
These instruments are really incredibly inspiring. I mean, the sound is absolutely amazing. The dynamic range of those instruments is something I've never experienced before.
One of the most challenging things I think about having kids is that it's a lot harder to do things on your own. And when you're a surfer, it's even more difficult because it's such an individual sport.
He was probably the first pro surfer in history that actually, when asked a question, said what he actually believed, not what he thought someone wanted to hear.
The 21-year-old Korean student had just finished an all-night study session at International House when he was attacked in this car park at 4:40 this morning.
He was approached by two people in a small car. They appeared to be armed with some type of weapon, possibly a firearm.
The university is obviously appalled with what's happening, and of course for us the most important thing is the safety of our students.
It's the second time a student has been robbed within the university's grounds in less than a week. Last Friday at 4:30 in the morning, a 25-year-old man was robbed in this car park. In that instance, two men forced him to lay on the ground before stealing his laptop, mobile phone and wallet. The university says it's increasing security patrols and working closely with police, and that students shouldn't panic.
I think it is safe after dark. I think we have to remember that these are two incidents. They were opportunistic. It was about being in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Police are investigating possible links between the crimes. Madeline Bond, NBN News.
Jets members have been able to buy tickets for the Galaxy Clash for several days, but today the general public got its chance. Late this afternoon, the club reported that the Family Hill is sold out, while $50 general admission tickets should be gone by tomorrow. As for the Jets squad, there were a few scares at training, with keeper Ben Kennedy missing because of the flu, while Tariq Elrich was on light duties because of a leg infection. Both are expected back on Friday. A lack of goals has seen the club scouring the earth for strikers, today confirming former Newcastle United player Ryan Griffiths is in the mix. Tomislav Misera has made a positive start to his trial, but Branko Kalina wants to see more energy from the 29-year-old.
We're looking for an injury replacement player, so it's not that we're looking for something special, but we want that person to be better than what we have.
English import Francis Jeffers is also racing to be fit, but he's unlikely to get a visa clearance in time to play Sydney this weekend. Ali Abbas will miss 2 A-League games after being selected in the Iraq side to play Kuwait on November 17. But the Jets have knocked back a request for him to take part in the Gulf Cup of Nations.
About 5 games in the period that Iraqi Football Federation requested, and it's just too much. We can't afford to do that with the squad that we have.
Meanwhile, the pitch at Energy Australia Stadium is ready for its facelift, with new turf set to be laid tomorrow morning. Mitchell Hughes, NBN News.
It's definitely exciting to play next to, on the same field as a giant superstar. It's a lot of hype around it.
It's been almost a year since 32-year-old Greg Newton died after being hit by 26-year-old Jeremy Beasley at Beaumont Street in Hamilton. Following a 2-week trial, Beasley was today convicted of manslaughter in Newcastle District Court. The jury delivering the verdict the Newton family had hoped for. What did you think of the verdict?
It was the right one. Yeah, that was good. Very happy with it.
Beasley had pleaded not guilty, arguing he only hit Mr Newton in self-defence, but it took a 12-person jury less than 3 hours to find otherwise. Beasley began to cry as the jury delivered its verdict, mouthing to them, "I didn't do it." He then sat down heavily and continued to shake his head in disbelief. Defence barrister Terence Healy then requested bail, which Judge Ralph Coulahan formally denied. Beasley's family and friends were clearly devastated by the turn of events. Sentencing submissions are due to begin on the 10th of December. Madeline Bond, NBN News.
Rallies like this are being held across New South Wales as nurses push for an overhaul of the hospital staffing system.
Some of the surgical wards here are operating on 7 patients to 1 nurse, which is just not sustainable, and staff are very concerned that there'll be an adverse outcome for any of our patients.
The state's nurses want what their Victorian counterparts have, 1 nurse to every 4 patients and 1 for every 7 during night shifts.
The job satisfaction is really low. This would actually help improve that. It might also bring some nurses back to the system.
Staff in the emergency department want 1 nurse for every 3 patients, while in resuscitation they want a nurse to patient ratio of 1 to 1.
Some days we can see 200 up to 250 patients a day, and our concern is that these patients are seen within a timely fashion.
Also at today's rally, the Nurses Association assured members it's continuing its fight in the Industrial Relations Commission against a new Hunter Health rostering system.
We've actually made a lot of headway through the process in the Commission. We've got agreement that we'll have a better process, more consultative process.
Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
.9% of the agreement is completed. It was just a couple of issues where we had differing opinions and we needed someone to make a ruling on that.
Three years after a lead abatement strategy was approved by the New South Wales Planning Department, Pasminco Smelter Administrator Ferrier Hodgson is seeking to change it, and the modified version has raised red flags with Lake Macquarie Council.
Council staff who have reviewed the proposal do feel there might be a reduction in the number of properties who will be offered the abatement opportunity, so that does concern us.
The change also includes a new deed which indemnifies Ferrier Hodgson from future claims.
It is asking that they acknowledge that if not all of the contamination is removed from their property, that they won't seek further action.
Both the State Planning Department and Ferrier Hodgson have been slammed for their communication strategy regarding the proposal. Letters meant to notify affected landholders were wrongly addressed, and once they did receive them, many couldn't negotiate the jargon.
I think it's unfair. I think the long-term residents of Bullaroo and Argenton and the surrounding areas that have been implicated by this deserve a lot better, and they should be making a more direct approach and a clearer approach and an easy understood approach.
Ferrier Hodgson couldn't be reached for comment. Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
For much of the last century, this sound echoed throughout the Upper Hunter. The number 10 and 18 Class 10 locomotives serviced the coalfields for about 70 years from 1911. Now, over the past decade, they've been restored to their original grandeur.
These 10 class locos deserve to be restored, and we've raised $950,000 to bring them both up to scratch.
And tomorrow, they'll puff and steam their way home.
We're looking forward to them having them back at their home East Greta Junction.
Number 10 and 18 were purpose-built to service the coalfields of South Maitland. Of the 14 10-class locomotives built, these two here are the only ones still operating in Australia. But restoring them was no easy feat.
The axle boxes alone, there was 10 to 11 hour days just remetalling axle boxes.
Mark's given you enough of that, but he wasn't strong enough. It's bloody difficult.
Tomorrow, the locos will make their way to Talara before returning to their old workshop, where they'll be kept in pristine condition by apprentices from the Hunter Valley Training Company. The locos will then steam into the South Maitland Railway shed on Saturday for an open day. Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
In front, they're not making much impression on her. Count your fingers, ran to second, then Shanbelly Moore ain't no fallen star. But who's ready? She's ready, all right. This has been a great ride. Who's ready comes away and will score by about 3 or 4 to count your fingers. Shanbelly Moore got third. Very Cherry might get the fourth. Queen's Fashion with her in a.
She's always shown that much ability. And, we just had to get the right race, and this is the race I had to tune for since she started this preparation.
Status symbol, get into Gerizana. Status symbol, hit the lead. Status symbol ahead to Gerizana. Zingerling flashed home from nowhere, grabs the third. A little Volcanics up there for fourth from Lightning Ridge and very discreet. Shekinah not far away from them. And Impressive Eagle is all.
Great event for the community, great for us to be out there and continue our association, and wonderful support from the Mayor and the Council of Muswellbrook as well in upgrading the field.
It's the pitch that will play host to David Beckham, and tonight it's a step closer to completion. New turf arrived this morning and the ground is expected to be ready for the Jets game against Adelaide on November 13. Next door and W League Jets coach Wayne O'Sullivan has no complaints about their home ground, but it's in Adelaide where the women's team will start its season this weekend. Our girls failed to win a game last year, prompting sweeping changes.
Straight out of last year, we reviewed how we were set up. We went away, we set up a full-time program. We got 14 girls inside of this squad, which are from that program, so it leaves us a lot better prepared.
The Northern New South Wales Federation has pitched in, providing funding for a more professional away game preparation.
But they put the finances behind this thing so we can travel like a proper team, like an A-League team, and we'll travel tomorrow morning, we'll stay in a nice hotel, we'll train there, get up the next day and play the game.
For younger players such as Australian representative Tara Andrews, it's helped to breed confidence.
We want to get off to a good start, win the first game, and then hopefully get on a roll and win as many games as we can.
Mitchell Hughes, NBN News. "26-year-old Latana Mundine doesn't have her cousin Anthony's formidable reputation, but she certainly inherited some of the family bravado.
Every female has their own sport, their own agenda. Mine's boxing.
Mundine will square off against Highway Patrol officer and part-time fighter Jackie Powell. The bout will take place at Wallsend Diggers this Saturday night.
I'm going good, feel fit as I've ever felt. So we'll just see what happens on Saturday.
To a hit of a different kind, and Cairo might seem like a long way to go for a round of croquet, but New Lambton's John Levick says it was worth the effort. The World Over 50s event was won by Egyptian Isham Boedzna, but Levick claimed the bronze and helped to put Australia on the map as a serious contender.
I think everybody that plays the sport aspires to be the best they can, and I've been retired now 6 years. I'm 68, and just at present I'm in a purple patch, and it's great.
Dart players Connie Spinks and Colleen Nichols have also proved age shall not weary them, winning the doubles Premier Division in the Australian Over 45 Championships. Representing Cardiff Panthers, it was school counsellor and accountant Connie's 7th Australian title and retiree Colleen's 8th. The pair has now been selected in the 4-player Australian rep team.
When Danny Wicks was arrested last December, his lawyer Mark Hanlon indicated the former Knights star would fight to clear his name.
And he's going to fight the charges?
Yeah, at this stage he is. Yep. Which I think is one reason he was given bail.
But today, the 24-year-old pleaded guilty to 2 counts of supplying methamphetamine and 1 of supplying 150 ecstasy tablets on the day before and the day of the Knights' 2009 Mad Monday celebrations. Wicks didn't enter a plea to 4 lesser charges of possession, which will be taken into account during sentencing. He was in court for less than an hour and remained silent after entering his guilty plea, but smiled as he was driven away. Wicks's bail was continued, with Magistrate Elaine Truscott altering the conditions so he only has to report to Yamba Police Station once a week instead of daily. The magistrate has also allowed Wicks to associate with co-accused brother Brett and sister-in-law Tristan Davenport. Their cases were also mentioned in Newcastle local court today, although neither appeared. Both are due to reappear on November 18 for committal proceedings. Meanwhile, another former Knight, Chris Houston, and his co-accused Stephen Stefanovsky are also due back in court on drugs charges on the 18th. Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
It's sat abandoned and abused since 2003, an eyesore on Hunter Street. But the old Empire Hotel turned squat will soon be no more.
Well, I think it's fantastic. I mean, we've been waiting for years for something to happen, and finally now we're going to get an outcome, and hopefully it'll be knocked down before Christmas.
And it could make way for a building housing 10,000 square metres of office space, home to 3 major call centres. The state government is calling for expressions of interest to establish a communication centre at the site. It says such a centre would cater for more than 500 workers.
Well, I think it all depends whether it's actually new jobs coming in or it's displacement of people that they've already got in the region, and that hasn't been sort of said to us at the moment as to what it's actually going to be.
Member for Newcastle Jodie McKay couldn't be contacted on the issue today. But while such a project could provide a boost to efforts to revitalise the CBD, some aren't holding their breath.
I don't think anything will really happen other than probably a knockdown, expressions of interest, and any development after that. I mean, who knows, but I think it'll be well into next year.
Tyson Cottrell, NBN News.
I just wanted to do something for, him and his family and just remember a mate and a surfing buddy.
It was a bit like the first day at school for a number of new Knights, complete with new uniform. For prize recruit Neville Costigan, it was something of a reality check, given he won a premiership with the Dragons less than 5 weeks ago.
Ever since I signed with Newcastle, I've been watching their full pack play, and they're just aggressive and big and mobile and got all the skills, and I just can't wait to play for them.
Neither can Beau Henry. Stuck at under-20s level at the Dragons, it's the lure of top-grade football that saw him sign up with the club, which is banking on him becoming its new halfback. Recent shoulder surgery and competition for that spot, though, may delay his inevitable club debut.
It's not going to be an easy ride, and it's not a certainty that I'm going to be playing, so I've got to do like every other player. I've got to go out there and earn my spot, and that's what I'm here to do.
That suits Steve Southern too, who's keen to prove a point to his former club, the Cowboys, and his new teammates.
Push hard, be 110% each training session, just to show the boys that you are here to, help to win the ultimate prize is the grand final.
Coach Rick Stone will be happy to hear that, and the hard work starts at training on Monday with the promise of a big pre-season.
Our training philosophy is not going to change majorly, but we definitely are going to test our players a little bit more physically and mentally, that's for sure.
I have made a decision that I believe is in the best interest for the club, short and long term. We've sent a strong message that this club wants us to perform and behave in a certain manner.
First things first, Premier Christina Keneally reveals the name of the new bridge to an anticipating crowd. Harry Boyle was chosen from 70 nominations, the late historian's son and grandson there for the surprise announcement.
Dad spent most of his life researching Maitland area, and he never sought recognition for any of his work. But now with this bridge, his name will live on.
And we think the Harry Boyle Bridge is a great tribute to a great historian in the area, someone that everyone knew and liked.
With official proceedings out of the way, the community was invited to walk or ride across the bridge it's been waiting 6 long years for. And even in the driving rain, hundreds didn't miss the opportunity.
Pretty happy about it. It's great
great for the area, for Bulwara and Maitland, yeah.
When the bypass opens to traffic in around a fortnight, it's expected to take 6,000 cars off the New England Highway every day.
This has been years in the making, and today we can finally say we're going to link up a rural part of the Maitland area with the East Maitland suburban side of the city.
Oh, it's something we definitely needed. It's, the bottlenecks every peak hour are quite hard to handle.
Lauren Bladwell, NBN News.
While it's not confirmed that two of the club's senior players will be left out of tomorrow's match against Sydney, it's clear the pair in question aren't pleased about being publicly disciplined by coach Branko Kalina.
Fair to say that, I don't think it's ideal. I can't predict the effect it's going to have on the other boys. I know how I feel personally. I'm not very happy.
It follows an incident at training midweek between Milicevic and Casey Weirman that's since been resolved.
If I counted the number of times that I've had an argument with a teammate in training because we've been passionate and commitment and we've wanted to win, I'd be a millionaire, I reckon.
Off contract this season, Milicevic admits it's had an effect on thoughts of staying on.
I'd be lying if I said it didn't. I think it's quite natural that someone in my position would be disappointed with the events.
Kalina, though, remains firm that action was necessary.
The club has taken action and nothing's changed.
Taylor Regan trained in defence today, while up front Kaz Patafta looks to have earned his first run-on start for the season in a team searching for a solution to their attacking woes.
I wouldn't say I'm an out-and-out goal scorer. I'm not really known for that, but anything I can do to help. I'm here to play football, so it's good to be out there.
We were never stricken with this, made calculated decisions on what we could do and what we couldn't, and when we ran out of batteries and no instruments and no nothing and no motor, we sort of said, well, we'll just run with the swell and have a bit of fun.
Starting Monday, an NBN News feature, we delve into the work of 5 innovative professors revolutionising the areas of medicine, engineering and physics. Ordinary Australians leading the world.
Their faces said it all. Surfing had lost a mate. Andy Irons gone at 32.
It's a massive loss. It's sad, it's a massive loss to the sport.
Merewether was where Irons last surfed in Newcastle. Some paddled alongside the world champion back then. Others joined today. All raising a wax-covered toast to a legend.
He was, the best there for a good 3 years. Yeah, as I grew up, I looked to him for, just how good he was.
Many of us got to see firsthand back in 2004. Irons went head-to-head with Lane Beachley at Surfest, but it was more a business trip. Sam Egan made all of Irons' boards and still had 2 to go.
Recently, he asked when he was getting them, and I promised to get them for this Christmas. to riding away this year.
But perhaps Matt Hoy is clinging to the fondest of memories. This board was one of Andy's. It took him to a world title, and today it hit the water for the first time in 7 years, so everyone could say thanks.
He's a surfer, so we're all surfing, that's how we are, and we're really tight anyway. We've got that affinity with the ocean, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Nat Wallace, NBN News.
They are a big piece of machinery. They're 50 tonne, so yeah, you've got to be careful.
There are a lot of cowboys out there, but there's also a lot of good operators out there too, you know.
Both sides began the day in a share of bottom place on the A-League ladder and desperate for a win. What's always been a difficult road trip for Newcastle became a whole lot harder when the coach left Lubo Milicevic and Casey Werman out of the side today after a midweek training blow-up between the pair. Already down on numbers, it's a bold ploy by the coach who promoted Taylor Regan into defence in a new-look side to face the Sky Blues. The issue for the Jets all season has been goal scoring, or lack thereof, and while Labano Haliti did what he could, it was a trend they couldn't break. Marco Yesik's radar also offline. To be fair, Sydney was suffering a similar case of the yips in a first half that failed to reach any great heights.